Welcome back to the movie recap. Today I'm going to show you a comedy, a fallacy, and a mystery film from 2009 titled Swooker's Wear. So watch out and take care. A Japanese man, dressed in very colorful attire, wakes up in a boy's empty room that has no doors or windows and a ceiling that seems to have no parents. As he approaches one of the walls for a closer look, he discovers something unusual sticking out of it, a protrusion that shakes and resembles a male member. After cooking on a couple of occasions, he presses the chair, causing hundreds of giggling babies and jewels to emerge from the floor and walls. They stay there for just a few seconds before returning the way they came. However, one thing they do leave behind. Now, all their members are sticking out from the wall and floor. This is the phase referred to as learning. When he snaps the finger he used to touch that oddly shaped button, the main screen reacts in fear, followed by cries and pleas for help from anyone nearby who might understand this fear. He decides to start pressing the various buttons to observe what occurs. Each time he does, a different random object drops into the room, ranging from a small twig brush to a large object, by pressing the same button again. He has provided the identical object, and this is the method he uses to test this concept. When he presses one specific button, it results in a significant fire or charm sticks being activated. He is in a position where, however, when he presses the button located next to the sharp step, a small cart emerges from the wall and collides with his legs. The next button he presses after crying in pain turns him into a boy facing gas on his face. Hours later, he had gathered many random objects in the room. When he throws the ball at the wall, it presses a button for Sims switching. This excites Sims, but he realizes he's missing soy sauce. He asks his captors for it, but gets no answer, so he repeatedly presses a button until he has a bunch of sushi in front of him still without any sauce. Giving up, the man goes ahead and eats the sushi, which he actually finds quite delicious. After he finishes the last piece, he presses the button for more. Then, out of curiosity, a bar of soy sauce finally appears. After angrily pushing the barrow aside, he presses a different pattern and receives a pair of all schools ready glasses. Once he puts them on, he manages to see a baby pointing at his member, and the man feels happy, thinking he might have a family answer. However, after pressing that specific button, all he gets is a countdown and a giant butt appearing from above the onion gas on top of him. Hours later, he's reading 5 volumes of a manga he enjoys. When he presses a button for the 6th, he gets the 7th and gets frustrated. He tries other buttons and gets 8 and 9, but still no 6. The final button he attempts to press holds a significant surprise for him. It unlocks a section related to the war, which controls the door behind it. The man is thrilled with this discovery, but in his excitement he forgets which button is the one that opens the exit. He tries to guess randomly and sharpen his focus, sitting in a state of confusion as he attempts to remember which button he pressed. The next button he tries causes water to pour down on his head. The third one becomes the one he actually needs, and as soon as the wall opens, he rushes toward it, only to watch it close right in front of his face. His second attempt follows the same path, and it's at this point that he realizes the door remains open only while the member stays down. So he begins experimenting with various methods to keep it open. Initially, he tries using a position, but it gets frustrated with his fur. Next, he attempts to hit it with a fly swatter from as far away as possible, hoping that the distance will somehow make a difference in his run toward the town. None of these methods work, whether it's deeply following it with a jump rope or hitting it with air sent by a fan. His next plan involves getting on the cart and pushing it after pressing the button, but after several attempts, he realizes he simply can't control it effectively. What he really needs is a way to keep the button pressed down. He places heavy weights on top of it, but the button still manages to pop back up. So he concludes that he must add more weight to make it heavier. First, he tries the water button, but it's pointless. No matter how hard he tries to redirect the water, it only falls on in a Novalis. His subsequent attempts include filling the race with Psy, but it turns out to be so heavy that he can't even lift it up. Additionally, the neck of the race is too narrow for his end to go through, so the man is left with no alternative but to use impression sticks and gradually remove a bunch of miss piece by piece. Moments later, after he has removed enough, he manages to barely pick up the face. He does just that, and then takes it closer to the patterns. When he arrives there, he discovers he needs to place the base on the 4 again because he forgot which button it was. As he attempts to press one, the African transmission is activated, causing it to accidentally crash into the base. This results in it cracking and breaking in half. This situation sends the man over the edge, and he panics, realizing India's Nunstar. He finally identifies the correct button and starts covering it with Rishit. Naturally, this doesn't work either, and the small member powers up amid the rice. Then, the man attempts to cover it again. Tape the button, then add a steel plate, but it doesn't work. After taking some painkillers to help with the pain caused by the door hitting his back every time, and after taking a nap too, the main character wants to wash his chief, so he decides to press a button to get some water. However, he accidentally presses the wrong button, and this one reviews are worked following from the C-Link. This unexpected event instantly lifts his spirits because it gives him a brilliant idea for a new plan. He opens the door and then uses the room to swing himself all the way across the room, managing to make it before the door closes. Sabi, when he attempts to open the door behind the fake wall, finds himself just in time before the door closes. Although marriages to here in one we are anyway, and in his frustration he kicks the wall, activating one of the buttons and revealing the keep flirting in the center of the room. Just like it happens with the door, it disappears when the button for start is pressed again. The man needs to keep perfection in the room and shut the door. But first, he must locate the button again, as he got distracted and lost it while observing where it landed when he hit the wall. He presses the button, and a dog emerges from the podcast wall. The same thing happens with the next button. Luckily, the trial is successful. He walks, focusing on the pointing hand of the button. The man steps back with a piece of fish he uses to hit the correct button. But when he presses it, the dog appears again. This time, he quickly finds the button and proceeds. He makes the rope appear and swings to reach other buttons, but it's not enough. As he falls, he sees a pointer from one button and gets an idea to solve his issue. He can use the pointer to touch the wall and push further. After a failed attempt, the plan works, and swinging with the rope and pushing with the pointer have him press the button key, grab the key, press the door button, and reach the door before it shuts. He quickly turns the key in the arc, but when he tries to open the door, he finds another surprise, a separate arc on top, needing 3 numbers. He rushes out, gets hit by the closing door, and in frustration, throws the puncher at the opposite wall, activating the button that releases the African transmission. As he watches, he realizes something there. There are 3 numbers painted right on his forehead, and these must be the combination he needs to enter. Given that the time behind the door is limited, the man embarks on the process of swinging on the globe and jumping, doing this whole routine 3 times, 1 for each number to be entered. On the 5th attempt, he remains there and manages to open the door, which is somewhat stuck, requiring him to push with extra force to get it open. When he finally succeeded in doing so, the piece of ball handed and closes, leaving him trapped and without enough room to fully open the door. Devastated, the man sits on the floor and begins to cry. He remembers all the fun he had with the object he had gathered from the buttons. He had walked there too, but at least he had space to move and enjoy entertainment. Now, he realizes he didn't appreciate what he had while he had the chance. Suddenly, he feels a breath on his face from the left side of the war. He touches it and immediately finds a crack, revealing it's a fake. He quickly pushes the panel open and escapes, reaching a mysterious hole in pitch blackness. It feels like an eternity, running towards an exit. When he finally reaches a room, his hair is longer and the background colors have faded. This room is also empty, and instead of baby angels, there are dove ones that vanish into the wall and leave only members to act as buttons. This phase is called practice. In a Mexican city, little Antonio's family is worried because the wrestler S. Quarterman is acting unusually. His wife thinks it's because his next opponent is younger, but the grandfather says experience matters more than age. S. Quarterman's daughter, Sister Karan, picks him up in her truck and drives him to the wrestling ring so he can prepare, change clothes, and pray. Protein. At school, Antonio is being scolded by classmates preparing for Asteroid Man, coning a week looser. As match time nears, Sister Co takes Remain again and picks up Antoniel and your grandfather to see it as propaganda and action. KKO doesn't stay, but Antoniel and grandfather find seats just before the show starts. The first team in the ring is the Northern Tough Ones, formed by Super Team and Intellectual. Then regarding Government and his partner, they appear under the team name Kiss Me Award. So Eagle gets his first fight point for his team, but he's quickly overpowered when the Northern Top Ones team up against him. They gesture for him to join the fight, but he declines, using a trick to make Super Demon and Kehaler clash, letting him escape. Asteroid Domain is also quickly overpowered, but just as his opponent is about to hit him with a chair, the main and mysterious The Room member pushes a button, causing a SCRGO to extend automatically, Annika pairing the Polans with a sad head. In the room, nothing occurs, maintaining the tension, so he continues pressing the same button. Closing as SCRGO and Anti-Nicap Sobri go. The FRI, Antonier, and even the bell remain. Unable to resolve, the man tries different buttons. One makes a metal band singer breathe fire at a concert in LA. Another causes a Russian medic to trip when instructing his assistant, and a third makes a man in China bark at his dogs. He almost gives up until he sees light from a pub, noticing it differs from the last room. There's no ceiling here, and he can see angels flying in the distance. He tries something familiar instead of pressing the member buttons. He'll decline the walls. It works, and each time he presses a button with his hands or steps on them, something happens, from flowers blooming to an elephant dying. The higher the stickers, the more complex the effects become. It's not just nature anymore. Humanity and a rural touch are in the big things. It could be like landing on the moon. By the time he reaches the rapids, the man's hair and beard have grown, and he no longer needs to hold on to the wall. Now, he can flirt like the angels, using all his experience from training in the previous rooms. He fully embraces his role as the door, and starts deliberately selecting humanity's greatest hits, rather than just randomly pushing buttons. By the time he finishes, he finds himself surrounded by feathers instead of walls, and steps into a glowing portal that leads him to the final room. This room features carvings on its walls and a massive button that the man is about to press. This phase is known as the future. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.